Yeah, my name's Tom, and I think I'm the only one here who doesn't live on energy bars. I travel to eat, effectively, and for the last few years have spent my life cycling all over the world, doing my best to find fresh, local, weird, wonderful and delicious food. Last week I got back from Southeast Asia, where I was following the Mekong River. The Mekong is the 11th longest river in the world. It's not one of the great rivers of the world in size, but I think in reputation it certainly is. And this is me in the Mekong Delta at the start of my trip in southern Vietnam. Loaded bicycle, ready to go, I suppose. And from there I began cycling north, up through Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos and into China. And I think, although the Mekong, this photo taken up in Yunnan in China, looks completely different near its source as it does at its mouth, there are a few consistent factors about it that make it just the powerful and wonderful river that it is. The first one of those is it's a transport hub. A lot of the roads in Southeast Asia are completely washed out, which I found on my bicycle. And so the river is still the main way to get around. This is a classic Mekong river barge. I spent a few days on these when the legs gave way. The other reason the river is vital to the lives of the people in Southeast Asia is it's a marketplace, it's a way of trading. This is a floating market in the Mekong Delta. Here we have market squares, piazzas, plazas. On the Mekong, you get your boat, you turn up and you sell whatever you've found, whatever you've grown. Your boat becomes a market stall, and so it's vital for the kind of trading life of these people. And everybody, well, a lot of people live on the Mekong as well. This is a floating village. There are no roads behind these houses. This is in the middle of the river, and underneath all these houses are huge cages of catfish, where the locals basically harvest their own fish in the same way that we would have kept chickens years ago. They keep them in cages. The river is also vital for the kind of economic prosperity of the region. A lot of industry goes on in China for what they claim are environmental reasons. They're damming the Mekong in 3 major places, and also in Laos to sell electricity. And in the south of Vietnam, huge shipyards build these vast rice barges that go up and down the river. But on a more positive note, the river's also, it's vital for the kind of recreation and fun of the people there. It has a huge spiritual context with the Buddhist religion that exists in all the countries on the Mekong. And every day, you know, I took great pleasure in getting off the bike, getting out of the lycra, and joining local kids swimming in the river and catching local fish. But for me, the most important thing the Mekong does for Southeast Asia is it provides food for the region, whether it's tadpoles, freshwater fish, Mekong riverweed, and of course rice. The river feeds the whole of Southeast Asia. And this is because the Mekong is a very intelligent river. It's the only river in the world that flows in 2 directions. And the reason this happens is in November, at the end of the rainy season, the river's swollen with water, but instead of bursting its banks like a lot of rivers do, it backs up into the Tonle Sap Reservoir in Cambodia. A bit like a giant colostomy bag, if you like. And what this means is that for 6 months of the year there's a huge amount of fish to live on, and for the other 6 it leaves behind an incredibly fertile floodplain where they can grow the local staple, which is rice. And any civilization that can grow a food surplus can go on to greater things. And in the 11th and 12th century in Cambodia, obviously they went on to build the Khmer Empire, which was based at Angkor Wat, which many of you may have been to. And this 12th century relief shows how powerful they were. Because of a food surplus, they were able to build temples, they were able to invade other countries, and they were able to dedicate time to creating beautiful works of art. But the changing of direction of the Mekong is still celebrated today. And when I was in Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia, I was lucky enough to be there for the annual water festival, Banom Tok, and this takes place on the first full moon every November. And it's an absolute riot. The population of Phnom Penh is 1 million normally. It goes up to 3 million for a week for this festival, so you can imagine how many people are there. And it's just a superb celebration of music and dancing and a lot of eating. But the real spectacle of this is the boat race, which takes place on the Mekong for a week. And this isn't a boat race like we have here, where you get kind of 16 wannabe students rowing backwards in lycra. these guys are doing this in tropical heat. There are probably 70 or 80 of them in each boat, and there are 400 boats racing all week up and down the river. So it's just the most fantastic spectacle. I have absolutely no idea who won or how they won, but the drumming, the whistling, the noise, the colour, if any of you are ever in Phnom Penh in November, I insist that you stay there. The best bit for me, though, was that every village in Cambodia has a boat, and that's where these boats come from. So every temple, every town, every village, they all send their boats into Phnom Penh to compete. And so by day, they're all racing each other, but at night, they all camp on the banks of the river, and all the village come. So they're all cooking, they're selling handicrafts, they're dancing. They're really just having a week-long festival to celebrate the changing of direction of the river. And that means you get to eat some wonderful food. You can be in Phnom Penh and eat food from all over Cambodia. And some of the best food was often prepared by the kind of nutritionists of the rowing teams. As you can see, they're highly expert using spades to prepare the energy food. This is a fish amok, a rich coconut and fish stew that was being prepared for one of the boat crews. And these are Cambodian energy bars. Most of the rowers in the boats would swear by eating these before each race. Packed with protein, they also believed that the snake would provide them with the power and agility of the animal itself while they were rowing. I took a few of these on. Yeah, they were quite good, I suppose, a bit chewy, like all power bars. And a week later, I arrived in Angkor Wat, and was really relieved to see this relief in Angkor Wat. And it was a great reminder for me. This is the 12th century carving in the Temple of Angkor Wat, and it's depicting exactly the festival I'd just been to. And for me, it was a great example of how important rivers are to the people of Cambodia and how important they are to all of us. Thank you.